Welcome to the Dialogue KE. Tonight, we discuss on the state of the bipartisan talks between the Kenya Kwanza government and the opposition. The National Dialogue Committee convened for the third time today, where they termed the meeting as successful. Despite the ongoing talks, a section of Kenya Kwanza leaders are asking President William Ruto to abandon the talks and instead focus on development. To help us discuss the whole matter, I'm now joined by Eric McConnell, political analyst, and Eric Toet. Tony Toet was supposed to be on the show, but he's yet to arrive. Well, Eric, talks are yet to begin.
Sure.
Just like last time, we discussed about the same thing. Some leaders actually calling President William Ruto to terminate the talks, saying it's a waste of time.
As I told you last time, and thank you for having me on the show yet again today. As I told you last time, that there's a very high probability that these talks may not go through. This is already an enough sign that these talks may not really go through, and if they, by any chance they go through, they may not bear as much fruit as we are expecting. And so for me, I'm just thinking, I have a feeling that this is probably a waste of time. But let's see where we get with these talks. Let's see what we can achieve. I think the important matters that are supposed to be talked about. But looking at it from my own perspective, we may not get so far from this. We may not go very far with these talks.
Yeah.
So I think I support the idea to scrap them off, but let's give them a benefit of doubt that they may go through. You know, politicians and especially in Kenya have perfected the art of lying. You know, they have perfected the art of just trying to take Kenyans round and round. And I think this is one of those instances where we are going to see a lot of discussions that are going nowhere. And do not be surprised when 1 month or 2 months down the line, the opposition going back to the streets or threatening to go back to the streets because the talks will not have borne any fruit. Don't be surprised.
Why do you think that it's only Kenya Kwanza politicians who are actually saying that the talks are a waste of time, not the Azimio leaders?
I think they are not ready. Looking at some of the things I have seen Kenya Kwanza raise, there's a very fundamental issue that they are avoiding, which is the high cost of living. They have avoided it in their talks, and the very first thing they want talked about is the IEBC, the reconstitution of the IEBC, which it is a pertinent issue, but I think they are really running away from Azimio confronting them about the high cost of living. And you see, when it is about the high cost of living, there are certain things, there are certain policies, there are certain bills that have been passed that pertains the high cost of living that probably Azimio will be pushing to be brought down. Certain measures that the government has put in place that Azimio will be looking to see that these policies, these taxes, these bills that have already been passed to be brought down. And that is one of the things they have been running away from. And I don't know what, they're also feeling that the opposition is pushing for a handshake government, which I don't really think is the case. There is also the fear that if the opposition comes into government, there is going to be, people are going to lose their seats in parliament. I actually had the whip, the chief whip in parliament yesterday in Kisii, Honorable Osoro, saying that if you allow these guys into government, then we will have they will come in, disorient everything, and now I'll be told to donate my seat
Actually,
because
the
of the
same thing that
handshake.
happened
You know,
after the 2018 handshake.
yes, exactly. But then looking at it, I think we have a very sober president who's if what he's been saying is anything to go by, then we do not expect any sharing of power or any government sharing. I know we had that in 2018, but as I mentioned last time, that whatever we had in 2018 was a very different scenario where the president had nothing to lose. The president in this case has everything to lose if he allows these guys into government, you know, because if there's going to be that power sharing and the people who are already in government lose their seats, lose their lucrative positions, then in 2027 he may lose their support, you know, and somehow he may lose votes in areas where he's really grounded. And so I don't think that there is any possibility of power sharing or that nusumkati, or as they're calling it. I don't think there is going to be such a case in this time round.
Okay. Actually, last week, the former governor of Makueni said that these talks are going to fail because it's just a politicians' dialogue.
Yes, yes,
That,
yes.
they need to involve the clerics, that
The
is the church,
technocrats
and
and
yeah, the civil society as well.
I think I totally agree with him. And that is part of the reason why even the first bipartisan talks failed. Because you bring people who their minds, they carry political minds, you know. They do not see beyond their personal ambitions. They do not see beyond 2027. They do not see beyond the positions they are holding. That is why you hear a member of parliament talk of bring Nusumkate in this government, while the leader of opposition has come out and said very clearly, that we are not interested in a handshake. We are not interested in power sharing. What we are interested in is let's have issues addressed. And I think the former governor for Makueni is a very intelligent guy, a professor. I agree with him that we need people who are true to the cause. You know, we need technocrats in that team. We need the clerics in that team, so that we also have a voice of reason into what is happening. You know, I mean, these are people we can hold accountable. Unlike politicians who come here, take us round, take us this way and that way, and in the midst of everything, we lose everything. And that is why I am saying, that is part of the reason why I am saying, as long as we are going to see Mwangi wa Iria in that team, as long as we are going to see Eugene Omalo in that team, as long as we are going to see the two leaders of the two houses in that team, these talks are bound to fail. Because they are going in with a political mind, not a development mind, not carrying out the talks from an economic point of view. They are purely looking at their own personal interests. Yes.
Actually, the 1 month timeline is coming to an end.
Yes.
They're actually going to meet again this coming Friday. You know, and the month is actually coming to an end.
Sure.
What's the repercussion? Because Azimio had said that they need to have the talks within 1 month, 30 days. After the 30 days, they are going to go back to the protests.
I think we may not see an instance where these guys will go back to the protests. But I would want to presume and also think that the delays we've been seeing in these talks, you see, today they were supposed, the technical committees were supposed to give us the agendas to which, the agendas that were going to be discussed, which really didn't happen. These are very calculated move to have these talks delayed. I don't know for what reason, but it looks like a very calculated move to have these talks delayed. And after 1 month, of course, the opposition is going to come in and say that we gave you an ultimatum, and you have not fulfilled what we said, that after 1 month we need to have everything sorted and the talks ongoing. And After 1 month, these people begin declaring protests. So there's a chance that Azimio are going to call for protests. And then it is going to be a very good chance for the government to pull out of these talks. It's going to be a very, I am looking at it as a very calculated move to delay everything and to crumble down all this.
Because actually the president is saying, he has actually been seen many times, saying that these talks are not helpful, that they actually need to give them time to work.
Exactly. And that is why I'm saying it's a very calculated move, that at the end of the day, we may not end up having these talks. These are, I don't know whether it is just time wasting, but as I said, let's give them a benefit of doubt. But there's a very huge probability that these talks may not go down at the end of the day.
But
and
on the
these
other
people may end up in the streets again.
The country is so peaceful right now.
Yes. Yeah, and we are enjoying the peace.
Are going on.
Yes, we are enjoying the peace that is in the country right now. But it is because there has been that opportunity for dialogue, and I am just hoping and praying that both sides see the impact these talks are going to have, and also have them see what exactly is happening in the country right now. And you see, they see the peace that is in the country right now. You see how businessmen and business ladies are going about their duties, very peacefully. There's no disturbance. The economy is running. No one is complaining about the finance bill anymore. No one is complaining about the hefty taxes. Everyone is going about their business looking for taxes to give to the government. And I hope this political class is able to see this, and just give us that conducive environment for us to work and be able to grow this country. And hopefully that we will have a good end goal, that after the 5 years, of course, growing the economy is a long-term thing. And probably after a few years, you're going to see the fruits of this. But it is really a good thing that the country is peaceful. And I hope that they also get to look at these and just keep not going back to protests. Let's have those discussions. However long they take, let us have those discussions. I think one of the things that we agree as a nation, and both sides of the political class agree, is that the issues that have been raised, they are very pertinent issues, and they are very important issues. And these are issues that we all need to engage in. They are issues that we need to talk about. They are issues that have been bringing chaos in this country for the last more than 30 years. And so these are things that we need to sit down, and this political class has to sit down, and the two factions of that of the opposition and the government, they need to sit down and sort out this mess. Because it is unfortunate that after every election that we have to go back to a mess, and while we had grown the country to a certain level, then we have to go back and try rebuilding things, because we have had things crumble down.
Yeah, talking about mess, last week during the Devolution Conference, the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, actually said that 2022 elections were the most freest elections that we ever had. And actually that brought about an issue with the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, where he hit out at the ambassador, telling her not to interfere with internal affairs, that you are not a U.S. colony. And we saw the president and the deputy president actually defending the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman. I mean, why are we seeing this row between the leaders?
Well, I think the freedom of speech and to give your opinion, and the ambassador for the United States gave her opinion based on what she observed.
But you say she's an ambassador of the U.S., so it means that the U.S. has said that.
Well, could be, but I think for her, it could be airing the views of probably the US, but I would want to look at it from the point of a personal opinion. She probably was here and observed the whole thing, and you see, it is based on the fact that the elections went through the people. It's a process that went through the people, challenged in court. So she's making those remarks based on what we as the people of Kenya and what the Constitution of Kenya through the courts have validated. And so it is something that was challenged in court. The elections were challenged in court, which probably the opposition felt it was not free and fair. And based on what the judiciary or the Supreme Court declared, they looked at the evidence that was brought, everything that was brought before them, and made a ruling that these elections were, were free and fair, and Kenya Kwanza won on a clean slate. And so Megan made these remarks probably based on all that, on all those facts that were placed on the table.
Looking at the timing of when she said that, it's during the devolution conference where you have all the leaders from the government side and from the opposition, and saying it on national television during the devolution conference at a time whereby the dialogue is actually going on. Do you think it was premeditated?
Well, I don't think it was premeditated. I think it was a very good platform for her to say that, because one of the things that has happened since when she said that till now, and that is of course why we are also talking about this, there has been a conversation. She has ignited a conversation in this country for us to try and relook at that whole process, for us to try and have a conversation in regards to that whole process of the elections, on whether they really were free and fair, and that is why we are also having a conversation on why, if we really feel that the elections were not free and fair, and that is probably why the opposition is up in arms, then how can we now, the next time in 2027 or in the coming days, 2032, make sure that anytime we have elections, that we have a conducive environment even after that, I mean, for me, it was a good platform where all leaders are present, where everyone who was involved, everyone who was a participant in that election was present, and we can have a discussion now that all of you are here, let's have a discussion around the 2022 elections. If you feel they were not free and fair, then how can we, in the coming days, make them free and fair? Then if I feel they were free and fair, how now do we carry on with these? Because most of us felt they were very peaceful elections, and like before, where we did not see the post-election violence came in because of certain issues that were raised by the
when you say most of us, you see the majority of people who voted. Actually, the difference between President William Ruto and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in the votes, it was actually around 200,000.
A very small margin.
Yes. So when you say most of us, a majority of you, meaning 50 plus, yeah, which it was not the case.
Well, I am thinking the people of Kenya made their decision. The people of Kenya made their decision on the 9th of August last year, and the majority had their say.
Yeah.
Had their way, while the minority had their say. So I think some of these things and some of these discussions that we are having after the elections, I think it is something that has passed, and what we need to look at is probably have a conversation of how to probably make things better.
Because actually one of the major contestation is the winner takes it all.
Yes.
Like, how are you going to solve this moving forward?
That is why I said when we sat here with Esther around 2-3 weeks ago, that we need to have a relook at what President Kenyatta and the handshake government brought to us.
The
last
BBI.
time, the BBI, because we need to empower the office of the opposition, the leader of opposition. Let's have him on board. Let's give him the necessary resources that he needs, so that he's able to hold the government accountable, so that even when they lose the election, at least they know, I have not lost everything, you know. I still have an office, a very influential office, that is going to keep this government accountable, you know. Let it be a constitutional office where the executive cannot interfere with, you know. An office that is protected by the constitution, and if anything, the judiciary can come in and be able to salvage the situation. Make a provision for a constitutional office for the leader of opposition. This is one of the ways that we can actually yes. This is one of the ways that we can end this whole issue of the winner takes it all, you know. Do you know, part of the reason why the leader of opposition keeps talking about a shadow cabinet is because probably he needs to have that shadow cabinet, but now bring it into the context of an office of the opposition. You know, give him the resources. Let's have that shadow cabinet that looks at what probably the Ministry of Interior is doing, what the Ministry of Agriculture is doing, what the Ministry of Transport and all that is doing, so that they are able to keep the government accountable of, this is what you told us you will do for us, you know. This is what you told Kenyans, that we are going to tutatenga bilioni 50 ya mama mboga na mtu ya boda boda. You know, 1 year down the line, we still do not have that. You know, how do we keep the government accountable to that? You know, let's give the opposition a provision, you know, give them the power to oversight, you know, the government and what is happening in the government. Otherwise, we're going to have cases of Eurobond, I don't know, NYS, I don't know what, you know. That is the whole way of if the president is really into the opposition holding the government accountable. And I don't think it's something that the opposition would deny. I think in the first days they are going to deny, look like they don't want the whole thing, the whole setup, but it's something that is going to be embraced. It's going to take time for us to have that in place probably, but probably in the next election when I presume the leader of opposition currently is not going to be running, I think there's going to be room and opportunity for them to just pick up that and just go with it.
Yeah, with these current talks, bipartisan, actually they have referred to them as the national dialogue. So actually they are moving away from the bipartisan talks to
exactly something that is being discussed in parliament, and they want to make a provision for it. Make it illegal. Actually.
So do you think actually Raila Odinga can sit in parliament, National Assembly, and debate these juniors?
That's of course that's impossible.
Because if he's the official leader of the opposition, of course at times he will need to be in the parliament, the National Assembly.
Well, I don't think that would be an ideal setup to have the leader of opposition sit in parliament. Then it beats the logic why we have a leader of minority, the minority leader in parliament. So I would advocate for a setup where we have the leader of minority seat in parliament, because this is somebody who's elected by the people of Kenya, and this is parliament seats, elective leaders, leaders who are elected or nominated, but the leader of opposition should I do not want to call it an office that is equal to that of the president, but such a setup where we empower this office to an accountability level, you know, to a level where he's able to hold the government to account, not sit in parliament, but then have the resources to just hold the government accountable. But having him sit in the parliament, it's going to beat a lot of logic of us having the opposition, the leadership of opposition, that is the leader of minority in parliament, and all that troop. So I don't think it is going to be an ideal setup having the leader of opposition
in the National
sitting in the National Assembly.
All right, as you conclude, what's your opinion? What's your projection of these talks? Where are they heading to?
Well, my projection is we may have a very huge delay that may end up that may take us back to the threats and the ultimatums of going back to protests. But there is a very high chance that, just like the earlier bipartisan talks that were held months ago, we may end up scrapping the whole thing, and probably next year, yes, and probably next year have another bipartisan. I mean, this is Kenya, and part of the reason why that is going to happen, until we learn to bring in technocrats in some of these discussions, people who know exactly what they are doing, people who are not going to begin arguing on what agendas that we need to talk about, what exactly do we need to address, while what we need to address is right on the table, I mean, until such a time when the government is not going to interfere with these talks, have a committee or a group of individuals who know what they are doing. Technocrats, bring in the clerics, bring in a representative of, if we need politicians, let us have one or two, probably the leader of majority and the leader of minority, and then the rest, let's have people who understand both the political class and the mwananchi as well, so that we bring a balance into these talks. Because right now, everyone is pulling on their side, The opposition is trying to bring Kenya Kwanza, it is trying to pin Kenya Kwanza down. Kenya Kwanza is trying to pin Azimio down. And at the end of the day, this whole thing is going to be flattened. It's going to crumble down. Yeah. And you see, the person who's going to be left without anything is the mwananchi, because the opposition is going to go back to the streets. We're going to experience police brutality again. And the peace that we are enjoying right now is going to all be washed away, which I don't think is a good thing. So we need to also have a conversation on who we are bringing or who is on the table on that in those talks.
All right. So
because they may end up crumbling down because of having the political class in that table.
So with politicians alone, the talks are...
I do not see the talks going, and we'll be here with you 2 months down the line. The whole thing will be done.
Okay.
And in October, the whole thing will be done. There's not going to be talks. There's going to be suggestions of having another talk, and all these suggestions are probably going to be taken in of having technocrats come in. Wait and see.
All right, let's wait and see whether the talks will be successful or we'll come back and discuss the same thing.
We definitely will. Take my word to the bank. We definitely will.
So that has been Eric Mukona, political analyst and also an economist. Thank you so much for your time.
Karibu sana.
All right, Advocate of the High Court, Tony Towet, was not able to make it to the show. We do apologize for that, but we hope to have him next time. On behalf of the whole team that made this bulletin a success, have yourselves a blessed night. My name is Kennedy Kimani.